Welcome to my next Lost. Season 5 episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, if you're not caught up to the point where I am every once you're watching Lost, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description. If that happens to be the case, you find that you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this detailed review any further to avoid any potential spoilers. And full disclosure, I've already seen the TV series Lost 3 other times. It's one of my top 5 favorite TV shows of all time. I wanted to rewatch the show to let it resonate a little bit more, but I'm not the only one that's currently watching Lost. The legendary Crazy Coffin Man, who you see in my comment section for Breaking Bad, Dexter, Dexter Original Sin, Dexter New Blood, Lucifer, and some physical media related videos, is actually watching Lost for the very first time. So, join us on the journey and let's discuss this awesome and amazing show in the comment section. However, I don't want to see any spoilers past this episode. Search for the next episode and make sure it's uploaded before you spoil anything. So with all that said, this will be Lost, Season 5, Episode 6. The title of this episode is called 316 or 316. And this will be my review reaction recap after just finishing watching the episode. We start slightly in the future from the island events with Jack's eye opens as he awakens in a bamboo grove dressed in a suit, mimicking the very first scene from the pilot episode of Lost. He looks around in amazement, then notices that he's holding a torn piece of paper on which the words "I wish" are legible, a fragment from John Locke's suicide letter to Jack. Jack hears Hurley crying for help, drops the note, and runs through the jungle along a stream to the top of a waterfall where he sees Hurley failing in the lagoon below, struggling to hold on to a guitar case. Jack dives into the water and helps Hurley out of the deep part of the water. They notice Kate lying unconscious on the side of the lake and hurry over, where Jack awakens her and informs her that they've successfully returned to the island. And then back to the current, going back a little bit, Eloise Hawking takes Jack, son, Ben, and Desmond into the basement of the church. There, she opens a blast door, revealing a room containing a map and pendulum-like mechanism resembling a pendulum and computers. She announces that this is a Dharma Initiative station called the Lamppost, and it was through this station that they found the island. Jack asks Ben if he knew this existed, and Ben denies knowledge of it, but when Jack asks Eloise whether Ben is telling the truth, she says probably not. Eloise explains that the lamppost was created years ago over a pocket of electromagnetic energy, which is connected to similar pockets around the world. The people who built it knew the island existed, but not where it was. The island is always moving, which is why the survivors of Oceanic Flight 815 were never rescued, Eloise claims. She explains that one of the men built the pendulum in order to predict where the island would appear in the future, using those calculations as she determined the position of a window to the island, which will close in 36 hours. Desmond realizes that Jack intends to return to the island. Desmond delivers Daniel Faraday's message to Eloise, warning her that Daniel and everyone on the island need her help. Eloise tells Desmond the island isn't done with him, but he angrily recounts how following her past instructions cost him 4 years of his life. Desmond tells Jack that they are being used and that he is done with the island. As he storms out of the room, Eloise hands Jack a binder containing lists of airline flights and their coordinates. Eloise then informs Jack that Ajira Airways Flight 316 to Guam will pass over the island's location and that all of his friends must be on that flight. Eloise takes Jack alone to another room of the church, which appears to be her office. She gives Jack an envelope containing John Locke's suicide note, She explains that Jack must recreate the crash of 815 as closely as possible. John Locke will act as a proxy for Christian Shepherd, and Jack needs to give John Locke something belonging to his father. Jack is skeptical, but Eloise tells him that's why it's called a leap of faith, something Locke has said before to Jack. Jack approaches Ben, who is kneeling in a forward pew with his hands together up to his nose, though praying with his eyes open. Jack asks where Sun is. Ben says she left. Jack asks about Locke and his coffin, which Ben tells him he will pick up on his way to the airport. As Ben walks to the candles and lights one, both men ask each other about Eloise, but neither provides answers. Ben looks at a painting. Ben tells Jack about Thomas the Apostle, noting Thomas's claim to the fame was not his bravery, but his doubt regarding the resurrection of Christ. Jack asks if Thomas was ever convicted. Ben explains that Thomas needed to torch Christ's wounds to be convicted, and then he says, "We're all convinced sooner or later, Jack." Ben walks toward the doors, and Jack asks where he's going, to which Ben replies, "Oh, I made a promise to an old friend of mine, just a loose end that needs tying up." Jack receives a phone call from an assisted living facility. There, an official tells Jack that the resident in question attempted to run away and that if it happens again, they'll have to transfer him to another facility. In a common room where a magician is performing, Jack greets an elderly man named Ray. Ray, revealed to be Jack's grandfather and Christian Shepherd's dad, had attempted to run away from his retirement home, going as far as to pack a suitcase. As Jack helps his grandfather unpack, he notices a pair of black dress shoes. Ray explains that the shoes were among Christian's belongings, which Margot had sent to Ray following Christian Shepherd's death. Jack asks to take the shoes, and Ray gives them to Jack. Jack returns home, and as he starts to pour himself a drink, he hears a suspicious noise going into his bedroom. He finds Kate in the darkness, lying on his bed in tears. She asks if he is still planning on returning to the island, and then offers to return with him. When Jack asks why she changed her mind and where Aaron is, she refuses to answer and makes him promise to never ask that question again if he wants to come with. If he wants her to come with. Jack agrees, and Kate then kisses Jack passionately, and then Jack and Kate get it on. Jack prepares coffee and orange juice for Kate the next morning. She notices Christian's shoes, and Jack explains why he had put white tennis shoes on his father's body back in Sydney. When the phone rings, Kate leaves, telling Jack that she will meet him at the airport. Jack answers the phone. It is from a deranged and bloodied Ben, who is calling from a payphone at Long Beach Marina. Maybe Dexter is there. He claims, maybe that's a California thing, actually. I don't know. California, Florida, they're the same to me. Well, not the same, but, you know. He claims that he has been sidetracked and that Jack should retrieve Locke's body from Simon's butcher shop. Jack travels to the butcher shop where he is let in by Jill, and then Jack opens Locke's coffin in the freezer and replaces Locke's shoes with his father's. He then places Locke's unopened suicide note in Locke's jacket, claiming that he's heard everything from you have to say, and it closes the casket. Jack makes arrangements with the gate attendant for transporting Locke's body. While doing so, he sees Kate arrive, apparently trying to look discreet in sunglasses and with her head down. As he heads toward the gate, a man offers his condolences. He then runs into Sun, who says that if there is the slightest chance of Jim being alive, she needs to return to the island. As they head to Gate 15, they see Saeed, apparently handcuffed and being accompanied by a woman, apparently a federal marshal. So they're mimicking the Kate thing. At the gate, Hurley, appearing nervous and reluctant and carrying a guitar case, informs the Ajira employee that he has purchased all the remaining 78 available seats on the flight, but not why. He doesn't want to give up any seats, and people want to get on the flight. It is implied that it is to save innocent people from any forthcoming crash. Jack goes up to Hurley, greets him, and asks how did he know. Hurley nervously responds by saying, "It doesn't matter, I'm here." As the flight is about to close their doors, Ben comes coming up at the last minute with his boarding pass. His face is battered and his arm is in a sling. Hurley becomes agitated at Ben's presence, but Jack assures him that Ben is necessary. As Ben takes his seat, one of the flight attendants tells Jack that security found something of his in the cargo hold and hands him Locke's suicide note. On the plane, or once the plane reaches 30,000 feet, the captain turns off the fasten seatbelt sign. Jack moves up a few rows and sits with Kate. He remarks how crazy all this is and how it's weird that they are all together again. Kate says, "We're on the same plane, Jack. That doesn't make us together." The captain makes an announcement. "Welcome to Azuro Air. This is your captain, Frank Lapidus." Jack and Kate look at each other stunned. After a moment, Jack asks the flight attendant to tell Frank about his presence. A clean-shaven Frank Lapidus comes out and happily greets Jack, saying he picked up this gig about 8 months ago. However, he then sees Hurley, Saeed's son, Ben, and Kate. Realization dawns, and he asks, "We're not going to Guam, are we?" It then turns to nighttime on the plane, and Ben is reading. Jack asks him how he can read, and Ben sarcastically answers, "My mother taught me." He then answers honestly that he can read because it's better than what Jack is doing. Remember, Ben's mom died, during birth. Waiting for something to happen is what Jack's doing. Jack then mentioned Locke's suicide note, which he feels is following him. Ben suggests he read it and says he'll give Jack some privacy to read the letter in peace and move towards the front of the plane. Jack then opens and reads the note, which simply states, "Jack, I wish you had believed me, JL." When Jack finishes reading, the plane encounters turbulence. As everyone buckles up, the turbulence increases, and eventually the plane is engulfed in a flash of white light, identical to the flashes that accompany the abrupt changes in space/time on the island. None of the three remember actually crashing. We go back to the beginning of the episode with Jack, Kate, and Hurley, and none of them have seen Ben's son Saeed and Frank Lapidus or any records of the plane at the moment. Jack suggests that they split up and search for survivors, but before they can do anything, they hear music. The source of the music is a Dharma van in what appears to be in new or very well maintained condition, which emerges from the jungle and pulls up next to the lagoon. A man in a Dharma Initiative jumpsuit gets out and points a weapon at the three survivors. Hurley then recognizes him, and the man lowers his weapon. Of course, this man is Jin. And that's what ends this episode of Lost. So, pretty good episode, although a little slower. I'm going to give the episode an 8.0 out of 10. And the main character of the episode is Jack Shephard. The other standout character, in my opinion, even though he didn't have a big role, but I like his role on the show, Frank Lapidus is awesome. He's not on the show a lot. He comes and goes, but he's like a show stealer to me. So you've heard everything that I have to say about this episode of Lost. If you're a fan of Lost and you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, please make sure that you Hulk smash the like button. Otherwise, I'll have to send you to the island. Share the video with a friend. Put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this episode of Lost. What would you rate it, and who would you choose as a character or characters of the episode? And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, you're watching the video anyway, join the team, help me get over 100,000 subscribers, show your damn support, and be a part of something special, and you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV.